Hello and welcome to TNA Top 10 for December 9th, 2024. I'm your host, T Weave. With me, as always, is Allison Fade, a producer,
Hi.
and Andrew, the research guy. How you doing, Andrew?
What it is, folks? Are
I
we
love
Well,
that
happy?
he
I'll tell you.
still calls me the producer. That makes me laugh so hard.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what you are. It's a
Sure.
gimmick, at least, right?
Yeah, I'll take it.
And I'm sitting here still waiting on a delivery from FedEx that I left work early for about 6 hours ago.
So I'm a betting girl, and I said it would get delivered during this show. So let's see if I'm right.
Well, that's fine because it's going to be heavy and it's going to go up my steep driveway. I came home to help. Oh well.
Yep.
that's what
on
he
them.
said. He didn't say that, and that's what he said. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Throw it up a steep driveway. You're here to help.
Alrighty.
I can't
What
help
else
it. Y'all make it way too easy. 3 weeks ish before the Christmas time. 2 weeks before the Christmas time. How are we all doing with Christmas shopping?
I've started.
As of today, I am done.
I actually now have 2 of 3 presents bought while we have been talking before we got on.
So
I,
to those,
my kids are older, so now I buy fewer gifts that are a lot more expensive.
Yeah, that happens when you get older. So Allison, you have
Yes.
a senior in high school.
I do.
What is Alexander? Because that's what I call him when he and I disagree.
Yes.
What is Alexander looking to buy this or looking for Santa Claus to bring to the house?
So my son still writes a Christmas list because in our family, if you do not believe in Santa, you don't get any presents. Like I'm 48 and I still believe in Santa because I like presents. So, hey. But his list this year is, I'm going to say 75% Legos. No shock to anybody. 20% Nintendo Switch stuff. And 5% completely random off the wall stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terry, how about your children since they are several years apart in age?
Well, let's see. So Cyrus likes anything soccer, video games, books. So books are easy. Houston is now living on his own on the West Coast. So things have changed quite a bit in the last year for him and what he wants. So I've already
He gets
talked
like
to him.
deodorant and like.
No, so I'm buying him a grill, and I'm gonna wait till
There
he
you
gets
go.
down here, and we're gonna pick some stuff.
Nice.
Because I asked him if he was checking a bag, because I'm thinking I want to buy him some knives, but I think I need to get them delivered.
Like
We
mail.
don't need a
Yeah.
TSA accident.
Yeah,
here.
no, nope.
Yeah, that's not good. Not good at all. So
Well, what about you, Andrew? What's on your list this year? Or do your dogs have lists?
no, the dogs get the bones. They're gonna have prime rib again for dinner for Christmas because they're rotten. All 4 of them get to share a prime rib with me. Typically, my sister and her family, my sisters and their families spend the Christmas with the in-laws. So my parents are both dead. That is no longer a thing, and nobody get upset about it. It's a fact of life. They're dead. So now there's no longer splitting holidays. They just, they either stay at home or they stay at home or they travel to their in-laws house, one or the other. So Thanksgiving they stay home here in North Carolina and they travel, and same in Georgia. So yeah, I will probably be by myself on Christmas, but I go to the church and I do things there, and then I cook for the dogs and me. And yeah, so Devin, it's absolutely the truth. We buy $100 piece of meat so me and the dogs can share it. No one has
100%
ever
believe that.
said I didn't spoil these dogs, but could never be accused of it, of not spoiling them or neglecting them for that matter. But yeah, that's what we're doing. And like, I'm not a Christmas gift giver to the family, like I'm not really a good gift giver anyway, because I just like take
I
it for granted.
disagree.
So when I give gifts, they're usually fairly extravagant. Like the one year I bought my sister and her husband Garth Brooks tickets, you know. But it was also opportunistic because Garth Brooks was in Raleigh. And when does Garth Brooks come to Raleigh, North Carolina?
Good point.
He did once. So, they were worth it. The cool memories were worth it, that stuff. Yeah, like I don't have children, I have dogs, and so the dogs don't care. They know they're getting the prime rib. And I hope I'm big red. But I've got to go pick.
You don't have to be his dog. You could just be his best friend. He'll do it for you too.
Yeah. So like Peter Luger's, that's kind of a gift thing. We went to Connor's. That's a gift thing. It's time and it's friendship. So I don't really worry about that stuff. And then I do enough around the house throughout the year that, Christmas time, a gift for one day is probably not necessary, and I'll leave it there. So on that end. But anywho, I do have 2 of the 3 gifts bought that I asked for in the only group chat that matters, and I did not get a response from the 3rd wheel, but I will get one.
Alrighty.
So, there you go. Anyway,
for the
well,
record,
all right, wait.
I'm an old man, and it gets cold in the wintertime, so something to cover my head is always a blessing.
And the color scheme Terry likes is blue and gray. For those of you that don't know,
gray, white, silver.
Shirt size is an extra large.
Well, I don't know. It's post Thanksgiving.
He also enjoys fine bourbon and things he can make old fashions with. What was the one you said?
This sounds like a local, beauty pageant or something. He enjoys fine bourbon.
Favorite day of the year is what? But no, the other thing Terry enjoyed. What was that thing that you sent me? I don't know if you sent it to Allison. The old fashioned with the roasted marshmallows and the caramel.
I've sent you 100
oh my God.
recipes.
Allison, they're getting ridiculous. They're taking the torch out and roasting marshmallows over top of liquor. So.
Oh yeah.
And
I do have a smoker to sit on top of it. Skull and smoke comes out the nostrils. That was
he is all about it. He is all about it. I don't know that I would have been all about it if I was still drinking. Although when I was drinking wine, good wine, as y'all might imagine.
I drank some wine a couple of weeks ago.
Same.
First time in forever. I was
2
at
glasses.
Connors.
I was asleep by 8:30.
I was not. We'll leave it at that.
Alrighty. No, I was going to say we were talking about buying gifts, and that leads me into my producer's pissed for the week. I know I mentioned previously about Black Friday and how it's now no longer one day, it's a month or whatever. But
It's
now
not
I'm
even
getting
a thing. Yeah.
right. But now I'm getting pissed because you had these sales that were lowest price of the season. This is it. Look how great. And then a week later, it's something is $10-15 cheaper.
Bastards.
And you can't keep up with it because most places offer you money back if you bring it to their attention.
Yeah.
But that's bullshit because it's if you bring it to their attention.
And I didn't get somebody in a headlock to be outdone 2 weeks later.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, my dad probably went through to get me a Cabbage Patch.
God. Oh, God.
Yeah. Look, the last time I remember anybody that I'm connected to celebrating Black Friday, my sister and her friend went, and it was 4:30 in the morning. I'm like, what the hell are y'all doing? I am way too hungover. I might have still been drunk for this nonsense. And they said there were people sitting outside the building waiting and all this crap. And I'm like, not for me.
I went to Aldi the day of Black Friday, and I happened to go through the Kohl's parking lot. So that was as close to Black Friday as I got.
The only other thing that happened to me that was, first world problems this week is I got a haircut yesterday. Yeah. Yeah. See, I'm trying to show you how short it is on the sides.
It's very short.
I got a haircut yesterday, and the lady's like, Are you sure you want it that short? Because she didn't believe me that my hair had grown
Oh
as
Lord.
fast as it
Yes,
does.
it does.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's okay. I said,
Was
it's
she
just hair.
afraid you were gonna freeze for the winter?
She was afraid that I was going to be unsatisfied with the haircut
Oh, bless her
Because-
heart.
because it would be too short. And then she almost lost her good tip.
Oh no.
She brushed the shit forward like this to cover up my widow's peak. like I'm trying to hide the bald spot. I don't really care. I earned every white hair in this beard, and I've earned this all the way back. So, but she tried to like do the little brush over thing, like brush it all
Mhm.
forward. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Got in and out, did not have to check in and wait on a list and worry about someone going to lunch and all this other nonsense. $32 with tip. I thought it was a pretty
Very
good deal.
Very nice.
But if you go to like Sport Clips, they make you check in online.
Yeah.
And then as the hair is getting cut, they give you these estimated time of arrivals.
Oh
But
wow.
if all of a sudden somebody goes to lunch, that time might go an hour or an hour and a half.
Ooh.
Yeah. Or if all of a sudden everybody's back and you're like the 6th or 7th person in line, they'll move your ass up and be like, hey, you're
Like
up.
45 minutes, fine.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know
don't
what's
have
not
to
a
worry
good
about it,
deal?
Terry, that you
What's
do the
not a
home
good deal?
barber, you know.
What's not a good deal that might also piss off the producer?
Uh-oh.
I knew. it
Juan
was coming.
Soto is headed to the Mets
Okay.
for $765 million for 15.
Let's be clear. I am not pissed because all I see when I see this is Bobby Bonilla 2.0.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
it's
it.
not 2.0. It's like 10.0.
All right, yeah. But like, I am sorry. This is insane.
765.
Insane.
If they opt in at 2029,
Yes, Devin, we know.
if they opt in at 2029, they add
Yeah.
$4 million per year, giving him a $55 million per for the next 10, making this contract $800 million. Now, I'm going to have some fun because our group chat is the only one that matters. But there was a group chat that I had said Soto was going to get money on the same level as Ohtani and was shouted down for it. Well, you know what? You were right. He didn't get Ohtani money. He got Soto money. We have reached a new level of
Yes.
how much somebody is willing to pay. And despite the mouth breathers in the room that didn't believe that that Soto was going to bring $700 million, he did. Oh, and by the way, Robert Kraft purchased the New England Patriots with all those Super Bowls for $132 million.
Shut up.
Dead serious. $132 million. The five, or is it 15? I don't remember. Combined top salaries of hockey players do not equal $765 million. Aaron Judge is the number 4 or 5 person on the all-time list at $360. This is double. This is double. So the Yankees lose this because they wanted 16 years at like $760. And Soto took $765 for 15. It was never about loyalty. It was never about the potential of Volpe and Cabrera and Dominguez as the young guys coming in. It was never with the anchor with Judge there. This was all about dollars and cents. And the Dodgers offered him $600, but we all know they probably offered to defer it too. So even if they'd offered him pay him $600 for 10. $60 million a year, they're going to defer the contract the same as they do with everybody else. So,
I am looking at these numbers, Andrew, and I don't think I ever realized how much money that is until you see it.
$142,000 a day.
That's the number that spoke to me, and I'm like, oh my God. Like that's
And that's $100 every minute, as in every minute, not
every
like
minute,
not like the
minute
minute
he
you
played.
work or something.
Yeah,
yeah. This is every freaking minute that he's alive.
Now we are positive people on this show. Except for Terry, he got the losing end of this deal because the Mets are in the same division as the
True.
Braves.
Oh, I've seen this before. It doesn't matter. The Mets ain't gonna do shit.
But they also have Linden. Remember, they paid so much money for. He's one of the top 10 contracts as well. So they've got Linden in the lineup. That means Soto's going to bat 2. That means Soto's going to take a lot of walks for the Mets.
Yep.
They're not going to pitch to him.
Mm-mm.
They're not. Allison's dad, George, and I were talking about this yesterday. They're not going to pitch to Soto in the 2 spot. They know that if they've got someone like Judge and Stanton behind him, you better pitch to him. New York Mets probably don't have that. The other thing is, for the Yankees fans, including Devin here, yeah, that's right, Devin. Lindor is the third hole batter or the cleanup, if I'm not mistaken, for the Mets. Anyway, we can go fix the defensive problems that cost them World Series number 28 rather than focus on this, because Soto cannot run. He cannot field.
Yep.
He is not a threat at base running. He has the slowest going after the ball after I've missed it I've ever seen in my entire life. His arm is not that strong. And I know I'm criticizing a right fielder that just signed a $765 million contract, but what they signed is a $765 million bat.
Yep.
That's what they signed.
Yeah.
And what happens if he starts to get a little injury prone? Everybody criticized Stanton. Everybody's talked about Judge, all that money they paid.
Yep.
It happens. What about what's his face out the Angels? Mike Trout. Good Lord. Yeah. He hasn't played, 30 games in 2 seasons or something?
Yeah, his muscles are too big. Put stress on all his tendons.
Well, that's the one problem with Stanton. He can't run either because he can't get his big ass moving fast enough without separating something.
It's all right. It's okay. We're all right with that.
But the bottom line is good for Juan Soto. But this might even be better for the Yankees because now they've got $51 million to do something else with. Yep. You know? And Terry, God bless y'all, because the Braves are going to need all the help they can get.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Because
they'll go get some players that got cut by some other team, and they'll come hit 20 home runs.
Max Fried is coming to New York.
Bang, bang. I have a question, because this is something that we do in my family before the season starts, and usually this is about this time after the World Series for the next year. We make a bet in Vegas for the next year's World Series. So last year, I had a ticket for the Yankees to win. Like, that would have been great. So now my question is, do I throw a little on the Mets?
Never.
No.
God.
Okay.
Throw
all right.
A little on the Mets.
Look at Devin, my man,
in the room here to hear that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, look at that. Max Fried, need the pitcher, trade for Cody Bellinger, sign Alonso, Corbin Burns, and don't forget Santander. So whatever his last name is, don't forget him either, Devin. So he gets it. Yeah, Devin gets it. And they're getting rid of, they're going to have to say goodbye to not Oswaldo. He's going to be the one that takes the place of the guy that got moved from third to second. Gleyber.
Torres.
And Torres, and of course they cut 17. No future bet on the Mutt.
Exactly.
George has spoken.
Thanks, George. I was wondering.
Thanks, Dad. All right. Fine.
All right. So anyway, Juan Soto, big money, and as Allison reminded me yesterday, is it baseball season yet?
That's right. That's right.
Terry, is it baseball season yet?
No, but we got wrestling. We got wrestling for a little bit more.
Wrestling never takes a day off. That's the beauty of professional wrestling.
It is pretty great.
I don't know. Some of these shows seem like a day off sometimes.
Terry, are you criticizing AEW already? We haven't even started.
No, I think the first page we're talking about WWE. So
well, they're not terrible. Right now you got the Judgment Day doing this weird thing here with whatever they're doing. But yeah, the WWE stuff has been pretty good. I have a couple questions on this stuff because I want to get your guys' opinions.
All right, let's go.
Older fans like me.
Sorry.
So the New Day angle, 10 years. I thought that they pulled, and I know it's a swerve, bro, but I thought it was phenomenal. I thought what they did using Big E's injury, he's probably never coming back with the neck injury.
Right.
And they used the swerve to to legitimately turn one of the more beloved acts in WWE for a very long time heel and get sympathy. So in the event Big E does come back, he can right the wrong. I thought that was really smart.
I don't think anybody saw it coming.
No, definitely not. What's that, Terry?
But if he doesn't come back, what have we accomplished?
You've turned him heel, and you've given him a look, because the trombone and the pancakes and the hoo, all of that stuff is fun. But they haven't really been a merchandise mover because they haven't had Big E. Big E was
so the sales of Bootios are down.
That made it move exactly. I had the Bootios; they were actually pretty good.
I have their tag belts.
But that's what I'm saying. They were so good and so entertaining. But without Big E, and God, is Pondwater Dave here? Because it's like the Freebirds of 1983. you need Michael Hayes, you need Buddy Jack Roberts, and you need Terry Bam Bam Gordy. Otherwise, it doesn't work. You need Big E, you need Xavier, you need Kofi. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Without Big E, that whole act, don't be sour, because he did the whole voice stuff, the intro, the New Day Rock, all of that. It doesn't work without Big E. So they did the right thing, I think, personally. And they did it on the 10th anniversary. So Scarlett is on.
I sent in my dad a note in the chat. My dad and Scarlett, he constantly tells me how much she loves him.
Yes.
So, yes.
So Gunther takes on the Judgment Day. Dirty Dom takes the chops, Terry. What do you think about how much would you have to be paid or compensated to take a chop from the ring general?
Not much.
Are we talking Juan Soto money? I mean, that was a very
it's nowhere near that. I mean, I would regret it, but I would do it for some low dollars.
Yeah.
So tell the tale.
So
no way, man.
Gunther busted the crap out of Dom last week, and his chest is just bleeding.
So do I, but I like keeping my ribs intact more.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I am fully aware that I am already accident prone and a klutz. I am not going to give somebody like that free reign. Nope. All good.
Well, and what do you all think about the way they're trying to get to Finn? And I mean, are they pulling the trigger too early on making Gunther more of a fan favorite, or?
So, my thought on this right now, Finn is boring. And this is from one of his most favorite fans. Okay. I love him. He's got more abs than I can count. But there's nothing happening with him right now. I feel
you could tenderize that prime rib on his midsection.
Hell yeah. But I mean, would we lose our minds to see the demon come back? 100%. So
well, they've teased it, or they've kept it from him long enough that it's.
But that's what I'm saying. Time. We're about at that stage. But my question is, who is the right person for that? First, I thought it would be Uncle Howdy.
This is the WWE. They will go until the point that we give up on the thought that it's ever coming back. And
you're right.
3 months later, it will show up.
You're 100% correct.
Well, and right now they got Uncle Howdy coming to the ring. I think it's still weird that he wrestles with the mask on.
Yeah, it's just...
But he does a phenomenal job being the cult leader. One of my concerns, because I love Bray Wyatt so much and his creativity, was how was Taylor Rotunda gonna pull off Uncle Howdy? Well, he has certainly done it. I mean, it is very, very good.
Different enough that it's working and not so strangely different that it doesn't have the same aspects it had before.
Well, and the supernatural in wrestling is all passe, and I get that, but it's still fun if done right. My favorite Bray Wyatt character was the Colt character, where he'd sit in the rocking chair with the lantern. He'd talk
yeah.
real,
Oh,
That's
then
what
when
it
he got-
was when I first came back.
And then he got the kids to sing "The Whole World Is in His Hands."
yeah.
And, that's so creepy with the sheep masks and everything.
I loved everything except for the Playhouse stuff.
And even the Playhouse stuff was fine with me until they unleashed the Fiend, because it's like, well, we have this idea, but we're not exactly sure how to get there. And once they got there, it's almost like AEW, which we'll get to in a minute. But let's get to Saturday Night Main
Well, hold
Event.
on, one more thought. But with Saturday night's main event coming back, I wish they would go goofy and have the intros like they always did. And would that not be a perfect thing to fit into those intros, to have Bray Wyatt there doing that? Oh my
Well,
God.
that's what I was going to
It
ask you
would've been
guys
great.
about
That's
Saturday night's main
phenomenal
event.
thought.
It's next Saturday, or it's this Saturday, the 14th,
This
and
Saturday.
Cody and KO are headlining. Jesse Ventura back on commentary, and did confirm that he's going to be on 4 Saturday night main events.
Wow.
In the future. So, what do we think of Jesse being back? And he doesn't have Vince to play off of.
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever really.
And he doesn't have Monsoon. Let's say that too.
Yeah,
'cause
that's
he
what I'm
really
saying.
was pretty good too.
And he's also not the same as he was.
Right. I
Like-
think
I mean, we're
he's
talking
probably a
25
little
years.
bit more confident in doing whatever the hell he wants to do, and that's probably going to cause a problem.
And there you go. That's where I was going with that. I am not so sure.
Even from an art standpoint, he left WCW after Hogan got there in July of '94. I don't know that he's done color commentary since.
Wow.
So 30
But
years.
when he was with Vince back then, obviously Vince is different too. But when they were together in the 80s, that was fantastic.
Phenomenal.
Before I knew that Vince owned the company, Back when
I always thought he was just the
only-
announcer. My
Yeah.
dad ruined that for me. He's like, you realize he owns the company. I'm like, that's
Right.
not true. No
Right.
way. No way he owns the company.
I didn't have anybody saying that because my Meemaw was still convinced that it was not Dusty under the mask and that J.J. Dillon didn't know what he was talking about.
Well,
Midnight Rider, yeah.
Right.
And
my
then the
great grandmother spoke no English, but I could understand Hulk Hogan coming out of her mouth. So
exactly. So Ventura's back. That'll be interesting. I don't know that they pulled the belt off of Cody. Anybody on predictions? Cody, Kevin. Do you think they take the title off of him?
No,
although
I don't see Kevin getting it.
would make for a very memorable night as the return.
Agreed, but I think
Sure.
they use it to leverage Randy Orton into the story.
Ooh, very nice. Okay.
Do we know if they're doing main event first like they did before?
I would doubt it.
I don't know.
But they're not competing with college football because the Army-Navy game will be in the afternoon, if I'm not mistaken, Terry. It'd be like, I think they're usually at the 3:30 slot, aren't they?
I think they play at 2, at 3, and then there's one bowl game that day.
But they're not what I'm saying is they're not going to be in real primetime competition.
No, I don't think so. What time is it starting? Is it starting in the
8
normal
o'clock.
spot?
7 or 8
I was going
o'clock.
to say it's not taking Saturday Night Live spot.
Yeah, Saturday, 7 or 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see. It'll be good to see back. I know it's been back before, but if they can commit to Saturday night's main event, and let's face it, guys, and we'll move on because I know we're almost 30 minutes.
Yep.
And I know how Allison gets about the slides.
I'm trying really hard not to be.
Stop it. Stop. This is our gig. Stop it. This is what we do. But the more content they have, because everybody wants to talk about Netflix and ability. What is Netflix? It's a content provider. It is an entertainment content provider. So the more you have, the more you put on, the farther that money goes. They also announced that they're going to pull the Raws off of Peacock, and they'll probably end up on Netflix. So that's interesting too. Because Peacock still paid that. What did they pay? $1 billion? They paid like $1 billion too. So anyway, all right, on to the wrestling nobody gives a shit about, even though they do pretty good matches. All Elite Wrestling, the AEW, announced today that they're going to go Texas for All In. And our man, Conrad Thompson, who is responsible in some way for introducing us all, said that he's bringing StarCast back. Connie, we love you, but StarCast in the middle of July in Texas, hell to the nah.
Thank you, but no.
Well established stink anyway, and you're going to put them in the deep south of Texas.
After what we went through in Nashville, I'm not doing that again. I had the table outside.
Or even when we were in
so did you,
Huntsville and
Andrew.
we went to the wrestling in the hot building.
Yeah, not a chance.
It'll be a cold building in January.
It'll be a cold building in January.
But we won't be in that building, by the way.
No, we won't.
No, but you're talking Texas in July. So sorry, Conrad. Appreciate what you do for the wrestling, but not doing that. But it was interesting. Bryan Danielson was there. Sting was there. Darby was there. Yep. They brought Swerve out. Bobby Lashley was there. So he's trying to do an all-in push, and he needs to because it's a baseball stadium, isn't it? Isn't that where they're at? Yeah, not.
I think so.
They're not going to have any luck selling it. And why aren't they going to have any luck selling it, Allison? Because we know Terry don't watch. Well, first of all, they're not going to have any luck selling it because people like Terry, who are longtime wrestling fans, don't watch. Okay, now go ahead.
The stories are just... What stories?
Okay, so you bring... Let's start with Orange, because that's kind of top line creative.
Okay.
I thought he was supposed to be out for a while because you tried to poison his ass. And then you bring him back so he beats you up. And then on the next show, which is good, at least they got a little storytelling that way, you try to poison him again only to have FTR interrupt.
How many times is he going to get his ass beat? Have somebody have to save him? Yet he's still the savior. And I'm like, at this point, I'm done already. I'm done.
My thing is they're trying to poison him. This is professional wrestling. What are you trying to pour down his mouth? That's dumb.
I don't care about that part. What I care about is people who are coming to save him have zero connection to him. FTR and Orange Cassidy. Did I miss something? Did I miss the storyline?
You are correct, ma'am.
What? And I feel like
good guys got to stick together, Alex.
Yeah. It's just no.
Why are you so polarizing, Jerry? Why do you got to be that way?
Because wrestling is supposed to be polarized.
But the number one reason why right now nobody believes in AEW is because they let Kyle Fletcher beat Okada.
Well, and it is clear that Tony Khan maybe he listens to TNA Top 10, or maybe he listens to my crazy ass in some ways, because what I have said is you have a 200-person roster that's entirely too big. You need to pick 10 to 12 guys, and those are your guys. And it is very clear after you beat the Rainmaker, and don't present him as the Rainmaker either. That's bullshit. That you are okay making Kyle Fletcher. It is very clear to me that we are on a path to somehow get back to Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay. TNA just signed it. What did that say? TNA signed it.
Go ahead.
UBS were in run numerous times. Could be bad news. Great for TNA. Yeah. So here's the thing. Nobody watches TNA either. No offense, Devin. But I mean, it's like an afterthought at this point. If you don't have an accessible television program these days or a platform people can watch that they don't have to pay an additional money for, they're not going to watch it. Streaming platforms are so out of control. Like, what is the discount if you have Max for buying the AEW pay-per-view? Nobody knows because they haven't done one yet. Nobody knows. They're doing the simulcast when they launch, first of the year, whatever. But nobody knows. Nobody knows what that looks like. So
I'm to the point now where if a show comes close to me, I go to it.
And don't care what the brand is.
But I'm
you've
not
been to AEW more
and
than
I'm
you've
not
been to
watching
WWE.
on TV. Yeah.
And I'm doing this. Well, I'm both. I'll still watch on TV, but if they come near me, yes, I'm going.
So one thing I don't understand, and I get that Greensboro, Winston-Salem are historic wrestling cities. Well, Raleigh, obviously, huge city here. Charlotte was a big wrestling city too. The AEW has run Raleigh one time. And it was the night CM Punk took 8 power bombs from Wardlow. And PNC Arena probably had 7,500 in it. That's the arena where the Carolina Hurricanes play, Allison. So they've got the state basketball Wolfies.
Look
and
at
all
you
that.
with the hockey knowledge.
Yeah, well, I can't help it when you see all the stupid banners in there when you go in there. All
right, what else about AEW? Anything else?
The Continental Classic, they've got
Speed it up.
Just
go.
to stop it, just to get through it though. Beast Mortos doesn't have a chance of winning a match. The guy that replaced Juice Robinson, Commander, he's not going to win a match. They might get Fletcher to go undefeated.
Take that baby to the show. Devin.
And yes, Devin, they make these things called noise canceling headphones for babies. Bring them along. Wrestlers love that stuff.
There you go. And you don't probably have to pay a ticket for the baby, to be honest.
Not till they're 2.
But that whole deal with
that's not true at the Auburn
the Commander. What is it called? Commander's Cup.
Commander's going to lose all 5 matches.
Oh God, yes, absolutely.
Beast Mortos is going to lose all 5 matches. Darby. Okay, so let's talk about this moron. I know you love Temu Sting, but this moron does a dive over the top rope onto a chair, misses the guy completely because the guy's out of the way, and he busts the chair. What is he doing? He's younger than I am, and he's going to be in a fucking wheelchair before it's all said and done.
You are not wrong.
He enjoys pain.
I mean, clearly, because it was, everybody saw that bump. It was crazy. And then I get the apologist from AEW. Well, it's kind of his style. That's the craziest thing he did. Have you been watching this idiot? You know, I can assure you, Arn Anderson, my man, never went that way through a table, never came off of stuff, never did. And he has neck and back and hip and can't sleep and blah, 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 blah. So it's not a sexy life coming up for Mr.
Didn't he say he never even did a drop kick?
He says all the time, I never even attempted a drop kick. So there you go. I know who else isn't going to attempt a drop kick, and that's John McClane. But he is going to appear on our show, Terry, and you should tell the listeners why.
Because this week, we are going to talk about top 10 Christmas movies.
Woo-hoo.
We thought about animated Christmas movies, but there just weren't enough. So we just threw them all in there. And when we say we threw them all in there, if anybody has ever claimed something was a Christmas movie, it was available.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And the thing is, on the Christmas movie stuff, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. That was a special request from me. So if you disagree, send your hate tweets to @30yearfan. I will shut you down like the petulant child that you are. But Terry,
I'll just tell you you're wrong. So
yeah, should we start with number 10, or are we going to start with options receiving votes? But did not make the list.
No, I'm never doing that. I could do that. Actually.
My God, no! Oh Lord,
others receiving votes. Mashed potatoes. Number 10, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
It's Hermie.
If you have a television and can turn it on, you've seen Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah.
And if you don't love Hermie, there's something wrong with you. I am sorry.
Yeah, Rudolph is fine. It's not my favorite, but it's a classic. I get it. It's a classic.
I like Frosty. I like Frosty because he comes to life, puts the hat on, and happy birthday. You know.
So you're wrong. So this is why. This is Frosty. So this is one of those where if you actually, because like as a kid you watch this and you don't remember most of the story, you watch this as an adult and it is an amazing story and it teaches you so many life lessons in it. It's crazy, but like watching it as an adult, completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Frosty's just, it's a snowman and he melts.
Well, the Dukes of Hazzard was the same way, but in reverse. Because it came back when I was in college, and I was like, "This shit makes no sense." It's lost.
And they pulled the Dukes over the flag, so there you go.
Yeah, and then Daisy Duke showed up, and you were like, "Oh yeah, okay."
Yeah, I'm taking physics now. This can't happen. Anyway,
they never broke a bottle in the trunk of that car doing them jumps, though, Terry. Any more than Rudolph ever lost his way.
Devin wants to be a dentist when he grows up, just like Hermie.
Number 9, The Santa Claus.
Now, there's a couple sequels. Did they make the list or not, Terry?
No.
Did we talk about them?
No, we just called it The Santa Claus.
It was just this whole thing.
Like the franchise.
Again, another great story, like fabulous story here, and it was different.
Yeah,
So
I didn't rank it too high on my list here. I don't know if I included it in my top 10, but there's so many good Christmas movies. I just couldn't fit it.
Devin, you
Devin?
hush your mouth. The Jack Frost one where the boy gets put on the naughty list is fantastic. Stop. Stop.
Oh, I forgot about that one. That is good.
It's Martin Short as Jack Frost. Yeah.
Right.
Martin
The thing
Short,
is, this
great.
is a once-a-year watch. I know they're Christmas
Yeah.
movies,
Yeah.
but there are movies you can watch more than once a year. For me,
Like
Santa
Finding
Claus does not qualify as something
Oh,
I'm going to watch.
We
in the
will talk
summer.
about one later that I watched
Yes.
over and over.
Same.
Die Hard.
Number 8. How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Jim Carrey's fantastic. The book was great. That movie is good. Allison's shaking her head, so clearly she's not a fan of the Grinch and the Who's and Whoville.
So I'm not a fan of this Grinch.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like
really?
the OG Grinch.
We kind of
Like the cartoon, the animation Grinch.
for this one. Yeah.
Correct.
But we didn't
I am-
distinguish between the two movies. We just gave the
No.
Not on
story.
this. We are very inconsistent when it comes to that because
Yes.
we had a Christmas Carol and a Muppet Christmas Carol because those are two distinct things.
Good for you, Devin. I love it.
The Grinch, yeah. See, the Grinch, I love the Grinch. You talk about redemption, Christmas miracle, warming. It's just another version of the Scrooge,
Yes.
you know? Hopefully Scrooged is on this list, not
Oh,
Scrooge.
Oh my
is
God.
another Scrooge is
Oh.
basically another Christmas Carol. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, correct.
All right.
God bless us, everyone. Thank you, Tiny Tim. Terry, what's number 7?
Number 7 is The Muppet Christmas Carol.
It didn't even make my list. Don't
Oh.
judge me.
I love the Muppets. I mean, Muppets Take
Agreed.
Manhattan is like one of the
Ah.
greatest movies ever.
Ah.
Piggy, Kermit, Gonzo. I mean, I love the Muppets, but I'm not going to
Muppets
go out
Go
of
to
my way to watch
Hollywood.
a Christmas Carol. Yeah. Sorry.
It's on parade.
When I
Oh
watched
God, I
Muppet
can't.
Babies all the time when I was
Ah.
a kid, God, love the Muppets.
This is yes. I can't. I mean, I grew up on the Muppet Show because I'm
Yeah.
a little older, but oh yeah.
I love how she qualifies that, Terry. A little older. My number's still a 3 first.
Shut up. Shut up.
She was talking about older than me when she said that part.
As long as I can't be your mother, I'm good.
You cannot.
No.
God bless.
So let's keep going.
Let's
What's number
move
6?
along. Number 6, Charlie Brown
Oh,
Christmas.
I can't. I once had a Christmas card where I put Linus's whole speech on the back,
Okay.
which just yeah.
I'm a hater. I just don't like Charlie Brown
Oh,
You're a hater.
because he was so naive and stupid and let Lucy keep pulling that football away from him.
Do you know that Lex the other day we were putting up Christmas decorations and he said to me, "Well, I don't want you to pull a Lucy on me."
that's great.
Yeah.
Damn.
Out of nowhere. And I'm like, "You little all right, fair.
That's pretty good, though. Good for
Fair.
Alexander.
Couldn't be mad. Couldn't be mad."
Top 5 are up, Terry.
Here we go. Let's get into it. Number 5, Die Hard.
Oh, you communists. This
He's
is number
so
1.
mad, isn't
You
he?
know what happened?
Number
here? So
1.
we had the opposite effect here. So I really dig into this. So when Rolls won the food contest, it was because nobody ranked them number 1, but everybody put them in the top
Yeah.
3. This is number 5 because half the people put it number 1 and half the people left it off.
There
Oh
you go.
shit.
Oh, this
All
is
right.
I didn't look at it that much. I'm just guessing.
Right, but that's yeah.
But Die Hard is a Christmas movie. It happens at Christmas. It's Nakatomi Plaza. Only John McClane can save the day, and Holly Gennaro, his wife. Of course, Hans Gruber, the terrorist.
Or
Snape,
you may know him as.
Alan Rickman, Snape. And then, of course, Carl from Family Matters is in here, too. Welcome to the
right.
party, pal. This is a rewatchable Christmas movie. And I mean that you watch it more than during Christmas time. I love Die Hard. Die Hard 2 is okay. Die Hard with a Vengeance is awesome because it has Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes.
And the subsequent Die Hards all suck. After Vengeance, they're just not good. But this is what started it all. And I do enjoy the trick of taking your shoes off and rubbing your feet on the carpet after a plane or travel. That does work. massaging your feet on the carpet. Also, just shoot the glass. And if you know what that means, that's a deep cut, literally and figuratively.
That's the difference between us. You got deep cuts on Die Hard. I got deep cuts on National Lampoons.
Hey, look, it was a Christmas movie, though, because he wrote the message after he shot the German. It said, "Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho." Santa Claus brought him a machine gun and the detonators, as Hans Gruber said with his fake ass accent.
Mhm.
And according to the pizza guy, Kevin had a machine gun brought by Santa Claus also.
That is also true. Yes. So, Die Hard, you all failed me. This is an awesome movie. It's a Christmas movie. Make yourself some hot chocolate. Listen, watch Die Hard this year and watch him save us from German terrorists. All right, number 4, Terry. I'm over
Number
it.
4, Elf.
Oh my God, why is this so low? This is the best Christmas movie.
Because some people hate it. See,
I
Will Ferrell is
quote,
that guy. He is that guy.
quote this movie year round. "You sit on a throne of lies" comes out of my mouth once a month minimum. All right.
So, Devin is also offended by
Yes,
this,
Thank
apparently.
you, Devin.
Because he loves Christmas movies. It's number 1.
Devin, it was my number 1 as well.
Elf, I took a date to. Yeah. It didn't work out between her and I.
Oh,
But-
I was gonna ask what gender was.
But
I
Elf,
can ask these questions.
Elf, not Elf. Elf.
Alf.
What an abused child. Cottonhead ninny muttons. Yeah. I just don't like this movie. I don't think.
Again, you're wrong. That's just wrong.
It was not in my top 10 either.
Oh,
And I like it okay, but it's not in my top 10. There were so many other movies that I felt
Oh,
were better.
in the 24 hours of Elf that TBS is polling or whatever, pound sand. Ain't no way.
all right, whatever. I love it. Hi, Buddy the Elf. This is when he picks up the phone. Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
Santa's coming to town. Santa! He freaks
Let's-
out. Yeah.
I love-
We can't get to number 3 fast enough.
All right, let's go.
Number 3, A Christmas
There it
Story.
is.
Okay,
And
yeah.
this is my binge watch 50
Yeah,
times during Christmas
absolutely.
The sequel sucked. Me and Allison
Oh,
watched
yeah.
it together.
Yes, we did.
It
That's
was
right.
awful.
It was
It was-
horrible.
What was it called? Like A
Awful.
Christmas Story Christmas or
Yeah,
something like
like
that? Some real stupid name.
Yeah,
All
it
I
was
know is
so dumb.
I have a leg lamp, courtesy of my dad, because we love this movie. Fragile, like it, must be Italian. I mean, like it's just.
Where did you learn to cuss like that? And he gives up the kid's name and it's his dad. He's eating a bar of soap.
Yeah, see, this is my dad's number 1.
I couldn't tell him it was my old man that I heard that spew of obscenity. You're gonna shoot your eye out, kid. Everybody remembers that line too from the Red Ryder BB gun. That and the drink more Ovaltine, where he gets the decoder and he's so mad and he beats the bully up.
Don't touch that turkey. You'll get worms.
You'll get one. And the dogs eat the turkey.
Bumpus's dogs. I will never forget that name, the Bumpuses. I don't know why.
And then little Randy in the damn snowsuit.
I can't put my arms down.
Obviously, we think a lot of this movie.
I had a little
Oh.
brother that I used to do that to.
She's so high pitched, she's cutting out of her microphone.
Oh, and she's giggling. She's dead. Oh, it's
I'm
funny.
sorry.
Oh, but yeah,
good
Ralph.
stuff.
And I
Good
love when they
movie.
didn't call him Ralphie. It was Ralph, Oh, and one other thing, because Terry loves when I say this. The origins of the triple dog dare
Oh, yeah.
came from A Christmas Story.
That is correct.
Because I dare you, I double dog dare you, triple dog dare. Oh, there it is.
All right, what's number 2?
Number 2, Christmas Vacation.
Oh, man.
Now this is surprising. Go ahead,
I'm
Terry.
surprised. I
This
agree.
is your movie.
Okay, so this is one of them here. So this movie, I've got a couple of, what I feel are a little bit deep cuts because everybody knows the big lines like
Shitter's full.
shitter's
Yeah.
full and all that. But two of my
Why the
favorites,
floor wet, Todd?
like the one I've got here on my headline. Can't see the line, can you, Russ? When they're in the when he's talking to the lady and she's like lifted up her skirt or whatever, and Russ walks up.
Showing the panty lines.
And my other favorite one is when he's picturing the swimming pool, looking out the window, and he's seeing that girl and all, and he gets interrupted by Ruby Sue, and then they have their conversation, and she goes, "Oh, something about shit and bricks," and he said, "Oh, a little girl like you shouldn't be saying words like that," and she said, "Okay, sorry, shit and stones." So good.
That, and then doesn't he say something to the effect of we're gonna be the or merriest bunch of assholes?
Yes. Oh, such a good movie.
It was a good franchise. Vegas Vacation is actually, I love when Nick becomes Nick Papa Giorgio.
Oh, yeah.
Rusty becomes Nick Papa Giorgio. That shit is so funny to me.
Oh,
Beverly D'Angelo fawning over Wayne Newton. But yeah, this one's fine, and Vacation is fine. It was a good franchise.
Or what's her name that was on Sex and the City was the cousin at one point, and they're like on the swing set, and she said, "I French kiss. Dad says I'm the best."
is that from European No, is that from
that's
Vacation?
the one where they go to Wally World, like the original.
Vacation.
Vacation, yeah.
Sorry, she's a kid. She's like in her 60s now, so she would have had to been like a 13-year-old at that point, you know.
Oh, Lord.
Wow.
I like personally European Vacation was my favorite out
That's
of
a
all
good
of
one.
these. That's the best. That was so funny.
Hey, kids. Big Ben.
So my
Hey,
dad,
kids, Big Ben.
it's kind of related, but not completely. My dad had the National Lampoon collection, like the books.
Oh,
Really?
I swear to God. Yeah, he had the books. And one of them was, and I'll never forget it, it was the National Lampoon, whatever it was, the episode, the magazine installment was called. It was Richard Nixon on the front of it, and it said, would you buy a used car from this salesman?
Oh,
And
so great. What'd
it
you
was
do with
so
those?
good. I think they're boxed up because he smoked
Okay.
in the house, so the books are damaged.
yeah.
Oh, well, if you don't want them, I'd want them. That's amazing.
Yeah, but he had them, and like I said, it just reminded me because of the National Lampoon thing.
Oh,
But
yeah.
would you buy a used car from this salesman? Was the front of the cover on the thing? He had all sorts of crazy shit like that. He had 18 versions of Token, or whatever.
Wow.
So, The Hobbit. But Terry, we're not talking about The Hobbit because it's not
The
a Christmas
one book I think my father actually read.
Yeah, J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah,
What
I'm dead
is
serious.
number one with a bullet this week?
Number one, drum roll.
Home Alone. Home Alone. The original.
Moira Rose in her
Well,
element.
I think Home Alone, the original, is going to get more votes, even though we put number two in there. People are just going to throw it at the franchise and put their votes on the first one.
See, I voted for both 1 and 2 because I enjoy 2 a lot.
So
I really liked 1 as well. Poor Marv and Harry. Whoever thought you'd see Joe Pesci playing in a kids movie?
And it was so good, and they were so good too.
Oh yeah, they're the Wet Bandits. Them were the Sticky Bandits.
Sticky Bandits.
Yeah. You did it again, didn't you? What? You quit doing that. He floods people's houses. Now we know every house you hit. Like, you don't think about it when you're a kid, but could you imagine being the adult?
Well,
You're gone away for Christmas. Your house has been robbed, and some asshole left the sink running in the basement, and you come home to a flooded house in Illinois in the middle of December or end of December. I would cut somebody. Legitimately cut somebody. But we're all kids. We don't think about it. What we're thinking about is all of Kevin's booby traps, And like,
well, to me, this movie as a kid was so hysterical and so great, and it was totally like the kid left alone, that independence, that wild stuff. Awesome. Until you have a kid, I want to say almost, and then you watch this movie, I can't get past the fact that the mom didn't know where her fucking kid was.
See, and they couldn't make the movie today because everybody's got a cell phone.
Well, Forget that. You don't go to the airport and not realize you don't have a kid.
And what
Like
was it that messed up the count? Somebody changed
The
cards or
kid,
something like
no,
that?
the neighbor kid got in there.
Yeah,
and
the
Oh,
neighbor
okay.
kid got in.
Yeah, the neighbor kid got in there. And they
That
counted him as Kevin, and it wasn't Kevin.
But I understand that for getting to the airport. How do you check in at the airport?
Oh man, back then though. I mean,
Oh
this
yeah,
is
that's true.
pre-9/11,
Anybody could go
right?
to the
I mean, you
gate
could
and
just,
like you
yeah.
could run around the airport like a crazy person.
You couldn't run in the airport like they did either.
Oh yeah.
Even if
Like-
you're OJ.
Oh
No,
my
no,
God.
think about it. We've all been to O'Hare, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Go
Oh.
ahead and run in that sumbitch.
Have
I
fun.
didn't think that you're gonna be running around there.
Nah.
We'll have damn mall cops all over us. You know, they're mall cops, but they wear TSA badges and work for Homeland Security and are paid by the taxpayers, which is why I can call them mall cops. They have no authority whatsoever. Allison, I'm
Nothing
shopping.
for me.
I'm shopping for travel bags.
Oh my God. I'm so proud of you. So proud of you. Anyway,
So
this
the
was
whole
a good
idea,
list.
Terry, is
Oh.
I can get 10 days worth of clothes in one bag.
I'm
But
that's
checking
not
no
got
matter
anything to
what.
do with this.
I go one day, I'm checking a bag.
Got anything to do with this list? Run it down, Terry. Run it down.
Number 10, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Number 9, The Santa Claus. Number 8, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Number 7, The Muppet Christmas Carol, because that's the best version of the Christmas Carol. Number 6, A Charlie Brown Christmas. Number 5, Die Hard. Number 4, Elf. Number 3, A Christmas Story. Number 2, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And number 1, Home Alone.
Before we close it down and move on, I just want to point one thing out. The traditional Christmas Carol did not make it. Scrooge with Bill Murray did not make it. And that's one of my
It was
favorites.
on my list.
I
Yeah.
love when he's doing the gifts. Towel, towel, towel. Most of these are towels. Hand towel. Flat screen color TV. Give me towel.
You sure that's your brother? All right, DVD player or whatever.
Your only brother?
Good stuff.
Oh, it's so funny. But A Christmas Carol didn't make it.
Yeah,
But-
well,
Well, there's only 10
Genuinely.
spots.
Genuinely, to all of our listeners, thank you for participating in
absolutely.
voting, and an early Merry Christmas to you.
What else we got going on this week, Andrew?
Our sister show, Talking Wrestling with Pondwater Dave. Look at that. I got it right. Used to be something else.
First try.
Talking Wrestling with Pondwater Dave and Amy will be joined by Jax Insane. Yes, that's his name. From AIWF. They're going to do jar rankings, not top 10
Ooh.
rankings, because that's gimmick infringement. Jar rankings of the top 5 favorite Christmas songs.
ooh.
And as a spoiler or teaser to all of our friends, they will be on the 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, I believe it is. There is one song they would give years off of their life to never have to listen to again. So
I have
there's-
mine, but it's not what everybody else thinks.
There's your tease. And also, thanks to Pondwater Dave, we are familiar now and friends of Big Time Belts. Big Time Belts gives us the high qualities, the low prices. If someone wears deodorant and needs congratulated for it, go ahead and do that. Get them a belt. For a Christmas present, get them a belt. It's probably a little late, but you can get them a belated Christmas present. Somebody went on the honor roll, get them a Christmas present. Someone graduated from boot camp, get them a belt. If they graduate from high school, give them a belt. So, Big Time Belts, high quality, low prices, and you speak her name, and here she is. Hi, Amy. You know, you're on Amy time, as we see. We've been here an hour waiting on you, but that's okay. We won't judge
She only
you.
comes for the football.
When I fall asleep, she pops in.
She allegedly learns things.
Still love you.
Us. Learns how crazy we are. But no, seriously, Big Time Belts. Thanks to our buddy Dave. We know all about him now. Man does high quality work. It's not going to be anything different or less than what you would get from WWE Shop or AEW or anybody else. So we certainly appreciate their support of our show. along with everybody else that they support. So that's what we got for now, Terry. We don't have a lot going on. It's Christmas time. Reboots are happening, whatever. So,
But what is happening is a lot of chaos in college football,
somebody
and
told
we
me
will
we're
get
gonna talk
into
about
that
it.
in a few minutes.
I was also told we're limited to we can't be here for 6 hours because some of us have to work tomorrow.
Well, somebody can go to bed and we'll handle it.
Well, no, I
I'm
think
going to
you
bed.
said that we couldn't be here all night.
Well, yeah, but apparently I'm going to have to drag a heavy box up my driveway later.
Oh,
anyway,
no.
so.
Did it get
Did it get
delivered?
delivered?
Oh, I have no clue. I've got no notification.
For those of you joining us late, Terry is waiting on a Blackstone and has a very steep driveway that apparently FedEx does not want to navigate.
Oh, I don't know. We'll see. It may be at the door. That's why I came home early. I wanted to do it and help them, but oh well.
See, Terry is so kind.
He
But
is.
clearly, that was a miscalculation.
That's right.
Anyway,
All right. We got anything else before we want to wrap this up and take our break? And
other than to
try
tell
to remember
everyone,
to change my background.
yeah, everyone, thank you so much. Stick around because we have a ton of college football analysis for you. And regardless of what anybody says, social media, in person, otherwise, text messages or phone calls, Terry and I give you the very best in football analysis that matters. So stick around for that. Thank you all for voting. And next week, we have no idea what we're doing, but we call that
Well, we
Monday.
were going to think about doing Christmas songs, but it sounds like somebody's beating us to the punch there. So
We could do worse Christmas songs.
Oh, let's talk about it offline. And we'll
This could be
figure it out.
fun. We will see you all in less than 5.
Thank you, Allison Faye. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everybody in the crowd and everybody that voted. And as always, love your people. Tell them you love them. Make it weird. See you next time, everybody.
Bye.
Hello and welcome to TNA Top 10 football show for December 9th, 2024. And we got a lot of different stuff to talk about this week, Andrew. I mean, we got conference championship games, we got National Signing Day, we got the transfer portal, we've got the Heisman outlook, we've got coaches being fired and hired. What else we got? We got the college football playoff and teams that think they got shafted. We've got a bunch of bowl games. What did I leave off the list? I don't know.
People thinking there's a bunch of shitty bowl games. You got that too.
Well, there are some shitty bowl games.
There are some shitty ones. I'll give you that.
But I'm pretty excited about quite a few of them.
I am too. Obviously excited about Nebraska's bowl game, but we'll get there. Interestingly enough, the transfer portal opened today, official, at midnight. So, December the 9th, it opened. A lot of people declaring for it earlier. Of course, post-championships and all that sort of stuff, Terry, you're going to see a lot of movement.
Yeah.
Again, 105. That's the number. Every roster by the fall season has to be 105 players. Some of these rosters, and I can speak to Nebraska's especially because that's my thing, they're going to lose 40 or 50 players and have already lost a lot of players. But you have the signing class, piggybacking on the signing class. Well, conclusion of regular season, National Signing Day, which doesn't mean nearly as much as it used to, because then the transfer portal opened a week later. And so we got a lot going on in college football. To your point, we are not going to be able to cover everything in depth. We're going to cover what we care about in depth. And that's why this is the best analysis that you can find on the internet, regardless of who your team is, because we are fair and balanced, far more so than Fox News. So Terry, I think we need to talk about the debate that a lot of people are having, initially anyway, unless you have some thoughts we need to share on the you want to start with the transfer portal? You want to start with the recruiting classes? Where do we want to start?
Why don't we do this? I got a graphic here.
Okay.
If I can get my controls all figured out.
I mean, I sent you a bunch of stuff. There we go.
Let's talk Heisman first. Yeah.
I couldn't remember if we decided on the Heisman not. So you guys are going to
I'll throw it in there somewhere, then I don't necessarily know what's coming up next. So
yeah, we don't care.
The four finalists: Travis Hunter, Ashton Jeanty, Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel. Obviously, one of these four guys is on a team that's dominated all year. I don't want to take it away from Jeanty, but they did win the Mountain West. They are the third seed in the college football playoff. They deserve their flowers there too. But a couple of these guys, Cam Ward looked like he might be destined for the playoffs, and they really fell off. But with Travis Hunter, the guy that really looks like he might be the guy that wins it, Colorado, kind of got a little bit close to the conference championship game, but then just didn't have enough. And that might be who we have winning the Heisman this year.
Well, and obviously it helps that he plays both ways. Averages, if I'm not mistaken, 120 snaps a game. It's a lot. It's a lot of snaps. It's a lot of football. Does not make you the best player in the country. This is the conversation I want to have with you, Terry.
Right.
Doesn't make you the best. Doesn't make you the best player in the country. What team, what player has flipped the result and the season for their team and led their team and put their team on their shoulders? That's the question. 1995. Tommy Frazier, best player in the country. It wasn't close. He lost the Heisman to Eddie George, first and second. But do you know how many sacks the Nebraska offensive line allowed in 1995?
Couldn't be many.
0. 0. Do you know how many holding penalties the Nebraska offensive line had in 1995?
I'm thinking 0.
0. Now, there's a point to this. This isn't Nebraska history. He had a lot of damn help. Tommy Frazier had a lot of help. There was a reason that he was not in the game after the second quarter most of the time. Travis Hunter, Genty, Ward, and Gabriel all have had to play complete games. Everyone have had to play a complete game. For me, when you just listen to this, 344 rushing attempts, 2,497 yards, 7.3 yards a carry, 29 touchdowns, longest run 77 yards, eclipses Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, Derrick Henry. Bad plays, 2 fumbles lost all year long. Touching the ball, an average of 344 divided by 13, Terry. He's touching the ball 25 times a game. Very impressive. I believe Boise State is in the playoff because of Genty. For me, that makes him the best player in the country.
I would say.
And he also did more with less because obviously Oregon is stacked. Colorado's got a lot of offensive weapons that Hunter is a part of that unit. And, of course, Cam Ward in Miami, receivers and running backs galore. To me, Genty makes the case, but he's not going to win it. I don't believe he wins.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think the two-way thing is huge with Heisman voters. Like you said, it's interesting to me that you ask about what a team would be without them. I think Miami, if you take Cam Ward out, is a lot worse. I think he saved them a lot. He couldn't save them enough to get them in the playoffs, but I think Ward has that. Colorado's tough because I think that Hunter is one of those guys in Colorado, but I think Sanders is also another one of those guys in Colorado, and the combination of them kind of does that. Because without those two guys,
doesn't
Colorado's nothing compared to what they are. But I think Oregon is a team. And that probably hurts Gabriel. You could put a backup quarterback. I don't know who their backup quarterback is, but they would be pretty damn good if he got injured.
And I think that's a sympathy thing for Gabriel because they went 13-0. Honestly, I think it's a we're going to throw him in at the last minute sort of thing. And that might not be fair, Terry, but I really believe that about Gabriel.
Yeah, maybe so. But I mean, I think they got rules if you're within a certain amount or something. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but
what I'm saying is I don't think anybody believes he's going to win the Heisman.
Oh no, but everybody knows he's going to be way behind.
Yeah. But they needed a fourth. They needed a fourth entry.
And realistically, Cam Ward, there's not much chance. I mean, there probably was up until they lost at the end of the season, but after that loss, he's out. So it's really a two-man race.
Yep. But I'm all for Genty at this point because, quite frankly, I don't believe Boise State, spoiler alert, folks, number 3 team in the country right now, or they've got the 3rd spot, rather, in the playoff. They don't do that without him. And, yes, Boise State, the non-Power 5 representative, is seated higher than the 2 of the 4 Power 4 conferences. Incredible. But anyway, Terry, so you've heard my case. I mean, when you look at what he does, he eclipsed the last 3 running backs that won the Heisman. Right. And they played for USC when USC was stacked, let's face it, and Alabama. And we know what Alabama was.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's harder now for somebody from a non-power conference school to win it. I mean, you've got to be extremely good because there's always going to be questions. Now that we have 130 teams in the 133 or whatever it is in the FBS. And, we got coaches talking about we don't need to schedule as tough because we got kicked out of the playoffs and we got all that. There's just questions. There's so many questions now. Did SMU play enough games to prove anything? And I'm not going one way or another on that at the moment because we're going to talk about that more later. But that also plays into the Heisman because you're questioning what did he do against good teams? But they played Oregon. They lost by 3 points to Oregon.
Yep. To the number one team in the country that has handled business.
Right. And I don't know how many yards he had that game. I could look it up, but Jeanty yards against Oregon. And I just say the words out loud as I say that. Anyway, I'll have to look at that later. It's pulling up different years, but yeah, I think Hunter's going to win it. I think it's going to be very difficult for anybody outside of a power conference to win it, but I think Gindy deserves it as much as anybody, especially with Hunter going both ways. There's just no chance.
Yeah, I don't honestly see the quality play difference, but and it's not that I'm a Colorado hater. I don't think the boy should be playing both ways. I don't. I absolutely don't believe he should be playing both ways, or not in that. But you don't play 125 downs, 12 times. I think it's a little much. But anyway, I don't necessarily think the quantity matches up with the quality. Boise got more out of Jeanty than Colorado got out of Hunter. My thought. And there's going to be people that disagree with that, and that's cool. I mean, I get it. Right. But Boise is the 3rd seed in the first ever 12-team playoff, and he put them on their backs. Meanwhile, Ollie Gordon, another running back we talked about, we're going to get to what's happening at Oklahoma State at some point in this show. He's declared for the draft, Terry, and he did not have the year that he was projected to have.
Yeah, that team didn't have the year they were projected to have either. We talked about that a little bit last week.
The rubber did not meet the road in OKC. Or Stillwater, excuse me, Stillwater.
Why don't we move along and let's talk a little bit of recruiting and transfer portal. Right here, we got the On3 top 25 recruiting rankings for this time around. Big boys up top. You got Texas and Alabama and Oregon and Georgia and Ohio State at the top level there. No surprise. See, Auburn's at number 6. Obviously, I'll mention that. LSU, a little surprised they're at number 7 here. But like Mississippi State at 23, that's a little surprising to me there. They did pretty well recruiting at State, but then Nebraska sitting there at 21. Mm-hmm. Who are the hosses that Nebraska got this time?
Well, they missed Michael Terry. He went to Texas. That was the only one they missed. So now, since you put me on the spot, I have to go back and look real quick because I don't remember every single name because I'm not acquainted with all these players just yet. But the one that stands out to me, we've got, that was Rahmir Johnson. Hold on. Because obviously I've been very busy on the Twitter these days. One thing I will say while we're looking is there was talk of oh shoot, I forgot. Okay, so Raiola, Merritt, and Mose. Merritt, we flipped from Alabama. Mose, we flipped as well. Those guys coming in, Terry, as 4 stars. The guy who won the Butkus Award, whose name is escaping me for a minute, he's going to be a big deal at Emmett Johnson. One thing I want to say, Emmett Johnson said he was going to enter the transfer portal as a running back. Dana Holgorsen is why it says again for the second week in a row, in Dana we trust. Dana Holgorsen, the new offensive coordinator at the University of Nebraska, has talked Emmett Johnson into staying at Nebraska and not transferring. And that, to me, is a huge deal, particularly if you saw Nebraska come on those last 3 games offensively. A lot of motions, a lot of screens, a lot of movement. We have a new wide receivers coach in DeKale Shorts. But the number 21 recruiting class in the country. I mean, we've got Parker. Let me see here. I'll try to pull it up. I thought I had most of this already. Bryson Weber has joined the team. Let me see. I'm almost there. This is terrible. This is riveting audio.
So why don't I run down a little bit?
I'll say athlete Jeremiah Jones, 4-star. He was going to leave. He's staying. He's not going anywhere. TJ Lateef, the number one quarterback in the in California, I believe, is coming to the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And Lateef is going to be between the Rayolas. So we got a Dillon, and then Lateef, TJ Lateef, and then Dalton Rayola. Cortez Mills flipped from Oklahoma to Nebraska. Julian Marks, Nebraska. Malcolm Stemson, Nebraska. Christian Jones, that's the guy's name I was trying to think of. I'm sorry, Terry. Butkus Award winner in high school, 4-star athlete. And according to Nebraska Twitter, had he committed to the SEC, he would have been a 5-star. So I can't help you there, Terry.
Hey, and like I pointed out to you in the chat when you said that, that's not all SEC teams. If he committed to Auburn,
Parker,
you don't get that extra
star. Yeah. I mean, Malcolm Simpson, Isaiah Mosey. These are all guys. The one guy that Nebraska missed was Michael Terry, right. And he went to Texas.
Yeah, and Auburn
they got everybody
missed on Justice Terry, who I believe also went to Texas, who was a defensive lineman.
Yeah.
Well, see,
and apologize for the riveting audio. I didn't put all of this in the notes because I didn't want to go
caught him off guard there. I thought he might have a couple of names. So let me run down a little bit of the top guys overall. Bryce Underwood, according to On3, that's what I'm looking at, what I normally look at. Quarterback Bryce Underwood out of Michigan goes to Michigan. Keelan Russell, another quarterback, number two guy goes to Alabama, and the number 3 guy is also a quarterback from Ohio, goes to Ohio State. So, some big quarterbacks near the top of the list going to the teams that, no big surprises there. As far as Auburn goes, Auburn flipped Deuce Knight, 5-star quarterback from Notre Dame. Got some good defensive linemen and safeties this time to beef up the defense. But yeah, Auburn's going to have to go get quarterbacks and have some bodies from the transfer portal because, that's the next thing we can talk about a little bit here that, Auburn specifically, we start talking about the transfer portal. Peyton Thorne's gone. 2 of the backup quarterbacks, they're hitting the transfer portal. So Auburn is down to 1 quarterback that has been there and who is a redshirt freshman, and 1 quarterback that's coming in this class. So Auburn needs to go get 2 quarterbacks from the transfer portal. And you saw how big quarterback was for Auburn this year because everybody said that's the one thing holding them back. So.
Yeah, this is why I went blank on some of our recruits because my focus has been mostly on the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Starting on recruiting day, Tony White, Terrence Knighton, and Evan Cooper, all have gone to Florida State on the defensive staff. So Christian Jones from Omaha, he's the linebacker from Omaha, the Butkus Award winner. He said it like this, Terry. If I play 4 years in college, I don't expect to have the same coordinator all 4 years. That's just how football is these days.
Right.
But I am here to play at Nebraska. Dawson Merritt, who is a flip from Alabama. Matt Rule flips him from Alabama. We lose Tony White on the defensive coordinating. Merritt stays with Nebraska. Again, the only one they lost was athlete Michael Terry. So it was very impressive. And Nebraska having a top 21 class with a 6-6 record speaks to Dana Holgerson, speaks to Dylan Rayola, speaks to Matt Rule, speaks to the 1890 initiative. But we have, to your point, the transfer portal. the entire front seven of Nebraska that did not graduate, the entire defense of Nebraska that did not graduate is in the transfer portal. James Williams, Jamari Butler. I just saw another one, young freshman guy today, really good potential. James Williams was the one I was lobbying for a black shirt because he did so well on the pass rush for Nebraska. But he's going to follow Terrence Knighton to Florida State more than likely. That's what they've predicted, is that he's going to do that. But Amari Sanders, for instance, stayed. Dylan Raiola came out tonight and said he's staying. And Nebraska's got their eyes on a lot of defensive talent already. So I'm not necessarily concerned about the Cornhuskers. And the reason for that is because this is a 6-6 football team that probably has better talent than they deserve to have based on a 6-6 record. And the fact that they finished 21 out of 134 teams in the NCAA for recruiting, not scared, not concerned, not worried. Transfer portal opens again in the spring. Maybe then we'll lose some more people or get some more people. Dana Holgerson has already said, Terry, they're going to invite 10 to 20 to Lincoln. Well, we have 150 people on this team. There's going to be a lot of guys that have gone. And there's people that, I don't even know because they haven't made an appearance in any football game that have left the team now. So,
let me mention a couple of quarterbacks in the transfer portal. Jackson Arnold in the transfer portal from Oklahoma. The expectation there is he goes to Mississippi State, and he's following a former coach there. So that's the thought process there. And the other guy from Texas A&M, what is his name? Connor Wegman, who was, I believe, a 5-star coming out of high school, went to Texas A&M.
He got hurt though, didn't he? And then
he got pulled, and they put the other guy in toward the end of the year. So he's looking to leave Texas A&M. There's not any thought.
Wegman lost the game to Notre Dame, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and then there's no thought right now on 3 where he's going. Like I said, Jackson Arnold probably headed to Mississippi State.
James Williams and Jamari.
Go ahead.
James Williams and Jamari Butler look like locks for Florida State from Nebraska's side of things. Florida State's going to be the beneficiary of Nebraska's training program and their, $135 million facilities that I sent to you guys. If you watch that video and that drone footage, it's pretty impressive what that money bought. But Terrence Knighton is one of the best recruiters in the country. We've lost the DL coach. We've lost the DC. Don't have a safeties coach. So we don't have a defensive coordinator. And you're trying to find guys in the portal to come play for you. But you don't have a defensive coordinator. What you have is Matt Rule saying, we're going to play good defense at Nebraska. They played good defense the last 2 years under Rule. That's not something that he's lying about. It's a lot easier, I guess, to accept if you're somebody, Terry, leaving a team for more playing time or more money. Who are you going to be responsible to? And in what system are you going to be responsible to play your role? So it's very interesting. And don't be offended by this. How the fuck is Auburn number 6?
He recruits.
And I don't mean this ugly, but he ain't a very good football coach.
Well, we'll see. Next year's really going to be the defining year for that. It's kind of, and I've kind of spoken to this, that this Peyton Thorne thing has kind of got to be a mulligan for him. But that means next year, when he gets his next quarterback, it's got to work, or there's some real problems, especially because Rhett Lashley is at SMU doing really well. And those guys know all about him. Yeah. So, not only that, but you got a guy at Arizona State that used to be at Auburn too. So
I was going to ask you, my question is, and don't be offended again, Auburn is 6 and 5 and 7. And I get Nebraska 6 and 6 and they're 21. That's what I'm saying. I feel like they finished better than they deserve to with everything going on. but they knew who they wanted, and they've already had targets. They've already made offers out of the transfer portal, which I think is also crazy that they know who they're going after when the transfer portal just opened officially today. So there are people doing some back channeling and all that stuff. But my question is legitimately to you as a lifelong Auburn fan, how do you finish 6th in front of LSU? Forget them, though, because Brian Kelly sucks. But look at A&M. They've had great success with Mike Elko there. Michigan, who, yes, is a down year, but that's Michigan. Tennessee, Florida, Notre Dame, Miami, SC, and Penn State. And just as a note, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Penn State, all in the playoff. And Auburn finished ahead of them.
You know how to talk to the right guys, and you know how to recruit the guys that recruit other guys. So, the receiver class last year, we had a quarterback that came in that was coming in that was really talking to the receivers. And if you can build some camaraderie with those position groups like that, offensive linemen could be the same way, then that also kind of keeps you from the risk of losing a guy here and there from the transfer portal. If they've got a group they really want to do some good things with, maybe they'll stick around, and maybe you'll get their attention if maybe you didn't have attention. Like, so-and-so's going over there. Maybe I need to consider it.
Well, and that was the one deal about Emmett Johnson and Cortez is Dylan Raiola is a hell of a peer recruiter. That's the rep on him.
Right.
He is as good a salesman as Matt Rule. And Matt Rule is a pretty good salesman, getting defensive commits to sign with no defensive coordinator, no defensive line coach, no secondary coach, but they have brought in an outside linebackers coach, and then all of a sudden they've started targeting players. This leads me to believe, and this is the thought that's going in Nebraska football, is our next defensive coordinator is in the playoff.
Quite possible.
They think it's SMU's DC. That's the talk on the Nebraska stuff. They think it's SMU's DC. If it's not the Butler, if it's not John Butler, who's already there, it's the DC from SMU. That could be. There was talk of them getting Jim Leonard. I don't know if you know who Jim Leonard is. He is the former Wisconsin DC, but he's at the Broncos right now, and he absolutely hates Nebraska. But if you
money changes things.
I'll say if you offer someone the right amount of money, they may not hate you anymore.
Right. Exactly.
But clearly, just to mention this on the Florida State thing, Tony White's 3-3-5 defense that he built at Nebraska over a couple years was top 20 defense, and he took a lateral move to go to Florida State to work for a coach that is on the hot seat, and that's not even debatable. And he took Terrence Knighton and Evan Cooper with him. It's very interesting. To me, something happened in Lincoln between Rule and White.
Yeah, coaching groups, position groups. It's like you get those guys that want to play together and want to play for a certain guy. If they move around, they may just follow them.
Well, and Evan Cooper got fired because apparently he was sleeping with somebody on the staff.
That'll do it.
Because he's been a Rule guy forever, but he got fired for sleeping with somebody's wife and or on the staff or whatever. That was a rumor. So,
yikes.
But anyway, just mentioning that because if you, like you said, Terry, if you take a core of coaches though, all the same philosophy, know what you're good at, know what your weaknesses are, blah, 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 and you move them to another team. I mean, you see it in the NFL all the time. Right. People want to work with who they've worked with before. So,
yeah, that's why Lane Kiffin was ticked off when Hugh Freeze kept calling Ole Miss, calling Oxford to get coaches.
Well, and let's take just a second and think about this because, I mean, it's Nebraska, but it's also Auburn. Scott Frost is at UCF replacing Gus Malzahn, who has now gone to Florida State.
Right.
So, won
that national championship against Auburn a few years ago.
At Florida State, you now have Nebraska's DC and Auburn's old head coach / OC. All of those guys have experience. Florida State doesn't have any excuses not to win next year.
And they can get bodies. They're still number 19 here after a disastrous season.
And we mentioned Florida State not for any other reason except they went from 13-0 regular season, 13-1 total to 2-10.
This is a big
are
name. They're
sitting
worth
at home.
mentioning just to keep
Yeah.
up with the story.
Yeah.
But why don't we stop talking recruiting, stop talking transfer portal, and get into some games? And the first game I got here, UNLV and Boise State in the Mountain West Championship game. Boise wins 21-7. They both rushed roughly the same amount. Boise State had 218 and UNLV had 217. So this wasn't really the Austin Genty story here, but Boise State walks away with a 2-score win.
Yeah, Genty dominated this game in a lot of ways, but really UNLV couldn't close, and we've seen this a lot, Terry.
Right.
And for the love of God, get rid of that ugly ass blue field, please, Boise State. It's hard to watch. Like it is hard to watch.
Now, do you think they made it blue because it's cold and they wanted the opposing team to feel even more cold, like it was ice or something?
I mean, I guess it could be psychological. It could be psychops in one way,
Like
but I know
pink visitor locker room kind of thing.
I know it had to be unique. That's their thing.
But yeah, so this is the first of the championship games. First, I was going to mention we're only going to talk about 5 because 5 is what really mattered.
And Barry Odom, by the way, we'll get to, is no longer at University of Las Vegas.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next game. And that is the Big 12 championship game. And Arizona State continued on the warpath like they have been lately, and they won 45-19 against Iowa State. And this was, I think Iowa State was favored maybe.
It was close in the first quarter, and it was a runaway after that, Terry. Arizona State made the good adjustments. They played some really nice defense, balanced attack, and they didn't commit turnovers, as you can see.
Yeah, that's the big thing here is the 3 turnovers versus 0 there.
And the one thing about it was
fairly close.
Iowa State had a really good turnover ratio all year, really good, on the plus side of things. They didn't Saturday. I mean, once Arizona State opened that third quarter, because you could see it was 24-10, so it wasn't horrible. But Arizona State just blew the doors off of them in that third quarter, and it was not pretty.
And they can run the football.
What's that?
And they can run the football really well. They got 248 here.
Oh yeah, their running back thinks he's the best running back in the country. But I'm sorry, your last name's not Genty there. But Arizona State, with that win, as it was, earned a 4 spot in the playoff, and they get a home field advantage and a bye. So that's huge for them, Terry.
It is. It'll be interesting if we'll have to look at the bracket later, but just to see where it would be where these two teams played each other. They may not be able to play each other till the final. I can't remember off the top of my head, but to see these two guys go head to head, I know they wouldn't be on the field at the same time, but that would be a pretty interesting game.
Be a lot of fun for sure. But yeah, Iowa State had a good game. We're going to talk about the bowls. They get Miami in the Pop-Tart Bowl because that's what the people thought of Miami. So there you go.
Let's move along. One more thought there.
I was going to say Miami probably deserves it, but go ahead.
Let's move along to the Big Ten championship game, and a lot of yards and a lot of points here. Oregon wins 45-37 against Penn State, and Penn State put up 523 yards on that Oregon defense.
But committed 2 turnovers.
2 turnovers, and they end up losing by 8 points.
Yep. Yeah. And James Franklin wanted some of them holding calls or whatever it was. Was it him that said that? I'm pretty sure. Maybe he didn't. Maybe it wasn't him that didn't like the penalties. But he has the worst record of any coach since 2000 against top teams.
Well, he's got 1 win against top 10 teams, top 5 teams or something.
Yeah, he's horrible. Yeah, he's horrible because they beat Ohio State in 16. They also, ironically enough, are going to get a home game, and we'll get to it. But Oregon proving why they're the number one team in the country. They didn't, my buddy Will loves Penn State because that's where he's from. He's from Western Pennsylvania.
Right.
But he and I were talking about it the week before it happened. I said, look, Penn State's going to have a strength advantage. They're going to have a size advantage. I said, but Oregon is fast. Now, if you didn't believe that, just watch them in this game. They were fast, Terry, at every position in this game. Incredibly fast. And they've kind of gotten – Oregon's always had that reputation where, oh, well, they're quick, they're fast, they're small guys, blah, blah, blah. But Dan Lanning has them playing with that edge too, where they're going to beat you up. They're a physical football team that it doesn't bother them that they're smaller than you.
This is probably the least flashy Oregon team of the good teams that I can remember because they're really a good defense. I know they gave up 523 here, but they got the turnovers. But they're tough.
And that's the thing. They got the stops when they needed them. So how good is the defense?
Good enough.
I mean, we're going to talk about a defense here in a second that I've called the best defense in the country, but people would say, well, Andrew, statistically, that's not true or blah, blah, blah. Maybe not. But guess what? When they need them, they show up, and it might be the next game, Terry. I don't know if it is or not.
The next game is the SEC championship.
There it is.
Overtime, Georgia wins 22-19 against Texas.
With a one-arm bandit at quarterback who that last play of the game, he couldn't move his damn arm. And he's out for the bowl game. He's done. 3 losses at Georgia. Beck is done. He's got a UCL, I believe it is. And he will not be playing in the bowl game, Terry.
Well, I got to tell you, Texas had plenty of opportunities in the first half to score a lot more than 6 points, and they just didn't do it. And it caught up with them. I know it went into overtime, but it should have never gone into overtime. Texas had opportunities, and they just didn't take advantage of them.
And the missed field goals.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have to settle for a field goal, kick the damn thing. But Georgia was the defense I was just making reference to. Now, don't get me wrong. Texas played really good defense. They played really good defense in this game. But Georgia did what they do. And it was blitz and knockdown and exotic blitz and pressure package and stunts up front. I don't know, Terry, of a better defensive mind in football now that Nick Saban's gone than Kirby Smart. And he might be better than Saban because he doesn't rely on pressure from your front four and coverage. Kirby's coming after you, and he's going to roll the dice, and he's going to trust his back end to play man-to-man. A lot of confidence he has in Georgia's defense, and there's a reason for it. This is why I called him the best defense in the NCAA. It's not always statistically that way. They've probably given up too many points and too many yards and too many this and too many that.
Right.
But if you need a stop, Georgia's defense is going to go get it. And if you need the ball back, they're going to go get that too. And that is what's going to make them so dangerous in this playoff.
31 yards rushing for Texas.
Yep. And 358, and they only scored 19. It's a lot of yards to only come away.
389 total yards. Yeah.
Yeah.
But look at those penalties. Tons of penalties on Texas.
Yep.
That's not helping either.
Third down was pretty good for both teams. Possession was pretty good. But again, Georgia's defense, it's that bend not break mentality. And they just kept coming, Terry. Just kept coming at yours. So
one last game. That is Clemson's win 34-31 against SMU. And at the beginning of the game, it looked like Clemson was going to walk away with it. And SMU fights back and had that last second touchdown to tie it up. But it's heartbreaking for SMU that Clemson comes down, returns the kickoff pretty far, makes a play, and crushes a huge field goal to win.
56 yards with room to spare. That kid was money. Money for Clemson.
Craziness.
We need to find one of them for Nebraska. Because we can't kick field goals from 20 yards.
Yeah, so SMU had 132 more yards total offense than Clemson. But
Rhett Lashlee Rhett Lashley learned something, though, that you don't do against really good football teams, Terry, even inconsistent ones like Clemson. You don't spot them 17 points and expect to win a football game.
Right.
And they took it to the wire, down to – and I think if this game had gone into overtime, SMU would have won. All the
That's
momentum was
quite
on their
possible.
side.
Yeah, it
All the
was. It was
momentum.
really the clock at that point, and they made just enough plays, and like you said, that field goal was just ice in that guy's veins.
Yeah, 56 yards, and it was money. Now, Rhett Lashley, young coach, he's going to learn from this, and we're going to talk about the playoffs here in a second, but I don't think he's got anything to hang his head at,
Right.
and we're going to talk more about him because I think we've got a playoff picture, do we not, or am I jumping the gun?
Not quite yet. We got
Okay.
the game. We're not going to break down the other games because they did not lead teams to the playoffs. But here's the other 4 championship games in the American Conference. Army, they get their 11th win. They win 35-14 against Tulane. Sun Belt, Jacksonville State, 52-12 against Western Kentucky. And in a bit of a surprise that it was this much of a delta here, 38-3, Ohio beats Miami of Ohio, who they lost to earlier in the season.
Go
in the MAC
Bobcats.
championship.
I
And
told
then
you
the
that's Frank
final-
Solis' old team, Terry. That's
Right.
another Nebraska guy.
And as Marshall's head coach will not be there next year, I believe, they win 31-3 against the Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana in the Conference USA championship.
I went 9-2. I want you to remember those numbers, Terry.
Okay,
because,
I don't know what I went because I don't remember what I even said.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 9-2 or it was 8-2, depending on how many we picked. I want you to remember that because we're going to
Okay.
have a little something fun at the end of the show.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead. Yeah. Well, you were bragging about the regular season. You know I performed well in the playoffs. Playoffs.
So one thing I would like to see, since everybody's got their own ideas, why don't we throw these 4 teams in a bracket and just let them play it out? Just for
Somebody
fun?
said to me, "Hey Andrew, how come Army's not in? They won 11 games too." I said, "Because that Notre Dame ass whooping."
Well,
I said, and if you look at the strength of schedule of Boise State, they played a few more teams with a pulse, like my man Terry likes to say.
they're also not finished.
Yeah, they got to play Navy. And look, as long as they keep scheduling them that way, that's how it's going to be.
I mean, and I think Army and Navy don't care. That's like, we can debate, well, why don't we let them in? Well, they're going to keep scheduling it that way because that's more important to them than
Yep.
getting into the college football playoff. And
And
that's
I don't
okay.
think they could beat Navy. I don't think anybody would change their mind on Boise.
Right. Exactly. Now let's move along. And what
Yes.
did the playoff picture look like? And here we go. I did my best to make a decent bracket. I don't have the seeds here, but Oregon is the top seed. They got a bye. Georgia was a number 2 seed. They got a bye. Boise State, number 3 seed, got a bye, and Arizona State got a bye.
That's disappointing. I
4
sent you a picture, but I'll forgive you, Terry.
Oh, I'd already built this, buddy.
No, I sent you a picture. So,
I don't
Yeah.
care.
in a
When I
loud,
put
clear
effort in, it's
voice,
coming.
3-loss Alabama that took an ass whooping from Oklahoma, lost to Vandy, close one to Tennessee. Will forgive. You don't deserve the playoff any more than the Mustangs. The Mustangs lost 2 games by a total of 5 points, one to BYU that was ranked as high as 8, and one to Clemson for the ACC title. For all you Alabama fans out there that thought I was going to get up here and go roll tide, no, sir. No, ma'am. No way. Nick Saban can get on ESPN and talk all he wants about his Alabama team. He forgot he retired. They don't deserve the playoff. Didn't deserve it.
Yeah, and,
It'd have
and
been my
the
choice
stuff
if you're going
about
to put an
scheduling
simple-
softer.
Let's put
Those aren't
game
the
top 10.
games.
Yeah,
Those
their
aren't the games that they lost.
non-conference games were trashed anyway.
Right.
Speaking of Western Kentucky and your man from was it Finley? Is that the guy?
EJ
Did I mess-
Finley. Yeah,
Yeah.
LSU, Auburn, Texas State, Western Kentucky, and now he's in the transfer portal again.
Yeah, to be one of the 105 players on the team. So, we can run it down, Terry. The one that I think everybody's most interested in is the one you have at the top, ironically enough. Tennessee, Ohio State. I'm going to go
At
ahead and
Ohio
just
State. Yeah.
at Ohio State. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Number 8, I sent you my list of guys that I thought the way it should have been. I was pretty close, but I had Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Penn State a little bit out of order. I don't think that Ohio State got the respect they deserve for having 3 top 5 matchups and 2 of those being wins.
Right.
Then again, they lost to Michigan, and that ultimately, I think, is what pushed them all the way down to 8. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. I was a little surprised still that they were as low as they were, but I think they probably made them. They put them there because this also got them hosting a home game in the first round. Still, so they didn't drop them low enough to not get that, but they did drop them and punish them for that loss to Michigan.
And quite frankly, I don't know what would be a better venue, Neyland Stadium or the Horseshoe. But the
I
Horseshoe,
think this is a huge game either way.
They're going to put 108,000 people in the Horseshoe. And can Ryan Day beat the SEC? That's the question.
Right.
Because he hasn't in postseason. He has not defeated an SEC team. So we'll see. Clemson versus Texas looks like a money game to me because Clemson did not have to be the 12th seed. Not, the rules don't state they had to be the 12th seed. They could have been ranked 5. What it states is that the 5 conference champions have to be in.
Yeah.
It didn't state what numbers they have to be. I thought SMU should be 12 and Clemson should be 11 because, let's face it, Clemson just beat SMU. But they switched this. So what you could have had is a Clemson-Penn State game and a Texas-SMU game, which would be interesting. Instead, you're getting Clemson and Texas and SMU and Penn State. Your thoughts, Terry?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that they really leaned on overall and not just the one game here, which I think they try to do most of the time because people are going to say, but this team beat that team, I think it came down to the wire, so they were going to call that fairly even, give Clemson the benefit of the doubt, obviously, and they're in automatically. But SMU just had a better overall season considering everything, and that's why they just gave them a little bit of a notch ahead.
Yeah. What do you think about the game prospect there? Clemson versus SMU. Or versus Texas. Excuse me, Texas. I meant Texas.
I don't know. Here's the problem. What Clemson's going to show up to play Texas? And we've seen Texas play Georgia twice and lose. Who have they played that they've beaten that we feel means that they're going to make a run in this tournament? I'm not sure, but they do have them at home. I really picked Texas pretty strongly here, but Clemson's not a pushover.
Yeah, I'm going. Well, I guess we don't have to predict the games this week, do we?
No, not this week. We can hold off.
Yeah, I think Texas is going to be the favorite because it is in Austin, and that's going to be a huge crowd. I think Sark's got a lot to prove, and if they beat Clemson, they go to Arizona State. Which, no disrespect meant to Arizona State, I would give either of those teams the edge over Arizona State, just based on experience and, more importantly, Terry, as we know, talent level. The talent at Clemson and Tennessee or in Texas is better right now than it is at the Sun Devils. That coach has got his guys humming and strumming, but it's still not the same level. You're not playing at the same level right now. Because he had to deal with all the legal sanctions and all the crap left from the previous administration. So he doesn't even get all of his guys yet. But anyway, he had an interesting take on the transfer portal too. I may have sent it to you or retweeted it. I don't remember. But anyway, that'll be a fun game. And then, of course, SMU Penn State already announced as a whiteout. So Penn State's going to put 111,000 people in all white in Beaver Stadium in a night game in Western Pennsylvania on December the 20th or 21st.
Yeah.
Could be snowy. They're not used to that at SMU there, Terry.
That's true. But, I mean, how many – I think both teams have a lot of guys from Florida.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, just initial thoughts. I give Penn State the edge there because of their
Oh, yeah,
physicality and their
definitely.
size and their
I think so.
experience. But then again, James Franklin's the head coach, and he can't win the big one. So who
But
knows?
reality, I mean, and people say, well, SMU might get blown out by Penn State. Well, I mean, the seeds kind of say that. I mean, because Penn State has a much higher seed than SMU does, so that kind of leads to the possibility of a blowout.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that SMU didn't belong or anything like that. That just means that the seeding was proper.
And then the last one, the Battle of Indiana, the cigarette man himself, Kurt Signetti, can't understand why they don't get a home game against Notre Dame that don't play in a conference championship, Terry,
Right.
but pulled up number 7, falling behind Texas and Penn State. Your thoughts on Notre Dame and Indiana just initially? Nothing concrete here. We're just
Right.
spitballing.
I lean a little bit toward Notre Dame, especially with them at home.
Yes, because it is in
Indiana's
South
another.
Bend. Yeah.
Yeah, Indiana's another team that, when they had their opportunity to beat a top team, they lost.
Mhm.
And they've played some good teams, and they've beaten some good teams pretty well, and they're consistent. So I don't think Notre Dame's going to blow Indiana out or anything like that, but I would lean toward Notre Dame, especially with them hosting it.
Well, and the one thing that this does, and I don't know if you saw the schedule, the games are the 20th and the 21st.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I have that right. And
Yeah,
then
one of them's on the 20th and the other 3 on the 21st.
and then they're on the 30th and the 31st and the 1st.
Right. That's the only thing on January 1st this year.
So you have 10 days and then, 14 days really for the first game. That's a lot of preparation for one team. So this is where the head coaches make their money too, getting the team ready for who you have to play.
Right.
So it's gonna be interesting. Just a couple questions on this and we'll move on because I know we have a little bit of coaching material. Anything on this list shock you, surprise you, you don't think belongs?
Well, there's been a lot of talk about the 5th seed being the seed to get in or whatever. I think the biggest surprise here, and a lot of people have talked about this, but when I look at the 4 games in the first round and the combination of teams that could play the team in the second round, Oregon's going to have a tough game in the second round.
Yep.
Without a doubt. And it's very weird that the top seed is the team that is going to have a tough game. Now, okay, Arizona State's sitting there. They could get Texas, probably get Texas, and they're not going to be favored there. Boise State's probably not going to be favored against either of the other 2 teams, even SMU maybe.
And no one's going to favor Indiana or Notre Dame over Georgia.
Right, but I just think I agree with people saying, I mean, they were the 8th and 9th seeds. That's how it falls, but it just has a weird look that Oregon's going to have to play such a hard game in the second round.
And just to point out, here's something that they didn't do, and I'm not being a smart ass. In the NFL, they seed them the same ways, but the lower seed faces the highest remaining seed. Mm-hmm. The lowest seed faces the highest, and then the high, they did not do that here. Instead of doing the play-in and then saying, well, okay, let's in reality, Clemson beat Texas. So now Clemson plays Oregon.
Right.
Still wouldn't necessarily be a giveaway game, but it would at least be 1 versus 12. They didn't do that in this particular format. So there's already been a ton of people, to your point, Terry, talking about, well, we should redo the format already. Well, the format's changing in a year and a half or whatever anyway when they expand to 16 teams.
Right.
And you got people already calling for 20 teams so that you can have the 4 power conferences champions, and then you've got the 16 play-in teams. So I mean,
it's the same thing that we always get into in college football. We try to serve too many masters, and you don't do any of that very well, so you fail at the whole thing. But my deal is, I'm excited to watch all these games, and I think they're going to be good, and we're just going to go from that. And I don't care about anybody's complaints. I'm just going to watch it, and I'm going to be happy.
Yeah, I think this is going to be some great football in these particular games. I think you're destined for a couple blowouts. I mean, I think some team is going to grab the momentum and go.
Yeah.
We saw in their house Clemson get beat up and lose.
Yeah.
So actually, I guess it was neutral territory, but still against Georgia to open the season. So who knows what's going to happen. But anyway, Terry, what do we have remaining on the docket?
Here's a big list of bowl games. Everything except for the college football playoff. We're not going to run them down one by one. When we get to the week we're talking about, we'll detail them and we'll make some picks there. But today, one thing that's been talked about a lot is the Alamo Bowl has two Big 12 teams. That's because Colorado is kind of playing as a Pac-12 team in that, although the Pac-12 is just two teams now. Based on those old contracts, it just kind of fell in that way. But what excites you other than Nebraska being in a bowl game for the first time in a while at freaking Yankee Stadium, which is an interesting combo for you? What else from this list jumps out at you?
You're not getting away with that. Number one, Gotham Bowl back in 1961
Okay.
was the first bowl, or it was 62, began the streak of 40 plus consecutive bowl game appearances by Nebraska. Number one, that was Bob Devaney. Number two, the Pinstripe Bowl Nebraska's never been to. They've been to the Gotham Bowl. They've also never faced Boston College in a bowl game.
Okay.
Castellanos has entered the transfer portal. So while Nebraska's lost their front seven to the transfer portal, the trigger man for Boston College is no longer there. It's a very interesting thing, Terry. ReliaQuest sticks out to me because I think Alabama got shafted. I don't think they belong playing Michigan.
Right.
But look at the next matchup in the Citrus, Illinois versus South Carolina.
Yeah.
That'd be a decent ball game.
Right.
Baylor versus LSU in the Texas Bowl be a good. Duke versus Ole Miss. They play defense at Duke.
Georgia Tech and Vandy, they're gonna
Georgia Tech and Vandy, I
math
told you
problems
at the
at halftime.
Birmingham Bowl. That one sticks out to me. Texas Tech versus Arkansas.
Yeah.
That's an interesting matchup. Iowa State versus the U. If the U shows up, Iowa State is dead. Like, I mean, if the team is intact, Iowa State doesn't have a prayer.
Iowa, Missouri, and the Music City. Hell,
yeah,
I might go to that one.
That one was canceled for COVID, so it's almost like a make good because in 2020 they were supposed to meet, but the bowl got canceled or whatever. The other thing is I want to point out for people that have an issue with some of these bowl games, that don't think there's an interesting bowl game, that think they're all garbage or trash. Just as a reminder, a lot of these are historical precedents is why the opponents from the conferences are facing each other. You can't just simply say, well, they didn't anyway. Alabama and Miami are the two teams left out of the highest ranking, so let's put Alabama versus Miami in a bowl game. Okay, I guess. But what you would traditionally see, all those games are taken up by this thing we call the college football playoff. And
the contracts define this for sure.
Yeah, and it's about money, and it's about revenue. And you think for 1 second, Terry, that Nebraska's not going to sell out their portion of the tickets given to them for Yankee Stadium?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
We got a basketball game at Fenway Park. We got North Carolina and UConn.
Yeah, exactly. And Mac Brown, we'll get to, is not coaching the bowl game. So that in itself is interesting. So there's a ton of stuff. I really like some of these matchups. I really could go without a few of the others. But it's going to be fun, and it'll be fine. And everybody's going to make money, and there will be ratings, and there'll be everything else. Now, the biggest thing that I hate, and I mention this, is that it's okay for you to accept a scholarship and or NIL money and not participate in the bowl game. I said this last year. You heard me say it.
Oh, we're gonna get into a lot of that when we start picking these games. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely hate the opt-outs. I 100% hate the fact they can transfer. I don't think the transfer portal should be open twice a year anyway. I certainly don't think the transfer portal should be open until the championship games are decided. Because you have several players on these teams. There's a Georgia receiver transferring Georgia has a chance to go play for the national championship. He's
I
transferring.
didn't see that one. I think I saw Boise
Yeah,
transfer.
it's crazy. It's crazy to me anyway. But no matter that, whatever. I'll get off my soapbox. I don't think they should do the transfer portal. I don't think this is the way it should be. But they have to, I guess, get them in school before the semester starts, which is part of this. Maybe.
Well, some of them are just going to the NFL, so they're not.
Well, that's the other thing is there's no such thing as college athletes anymore, not in the same
Right.
way as it was. So anybody who wants to clutch their pearls over that, come on, take a break, take a breath.
That left a long time ago.
Long time ago. Terry, what do we got up next?
Up next, we got the 2 games that we have this week. Army Navy. Army favored by 5.5 Saturday at 3:00. Why don't we pick this?
I think Army finishes the run. I know the Army-Navy game, throw the scores out the window, whatever, but Army's won 11 games or 10 games, whatever it is. The only loss to Notre Dame. It was a big one, but, it was also expected. I think they complete the set, and I think that Army wins this pretty handily. I'd go by 13 points.
Okay. So I know that Navy toward the start of the year, and I don't know who their opponents were at the start of the year. They went on a pretty good run there. I'm going to call this a close one. I'm going to say Army by 4. In the very first bowl game, the Salute to Veterans Bowl. I don't have the date here, but that's in Montgomery, Alabama. That's going to be South Alabama against Western Michigan. South Alabama favored by 10 points because they're basically playing a home game here. And I don't know much about either of these teams. I'm not going to act like I do, but give me South Alabama by a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm taking a page out of Terry's book. I'll take South Alabama by the spread. We are running the ball, folks, and running the clock out. Because I know about Eastern Michigan. I know it's a directional school out of the Midwest. I have no idea about South Alabama.
Right.
But
yeah, so don't expect any great opinions on most of these bowl games. But
no, we'll get to the bigger ones, absolutely. But these, no way.
Wow, I just found out that my monitor will go black if I'm not touching my mouse, even though we're recording and doing a stream. I thought my whole power went out or something. Anyway, now that we talked about not knowing how to pick those games, we got a new thing on ESPN. We got the College Football Playoff Bracket Challenge. So last year, we scratched our heads a lot trying to pick all these Tulip Bowl and that kind of thing, and we didn't know what we were picking. You just listened to an example of that. But what we do know is about the 12 teams that are in the college football playoff. So along with the regular bowl mania that we did last year, ESPN has introduced something new for the 12-team field called a College Football Playoff Bracket Challenge. I created one of these today. It's called TNA Top 10 CFP Bracket Challenge. I'm going to put the link out there. We'll share that multiple times. This obviously starts with the first game of the bracket on the 20th, I believe. So we're going to get that out to you. Please play. It's just for fun. We're going to try to make sure Bryant doesn't win it this year like he did last year.
He barely edged me out I think he beat me by 2 picks, maybe 3, but he is the champion of the pick'em, not this year. Not this time, Terry. We ain't doing it.
Time. Okay, well, I'm gonna go with my regular season title. I'm gonna keep doing that and keep bragging about that no matter what happens in the bracket challenge.
I think, I am game for the bracket challenge. I also think that I will win the bracket challenge.
So, heard it here first, guys.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you don't have confidence in yourself, what the hell are you even doing?
Exactly. So that's all the graphics I got for this week. What
buddy,
we
left
talked about?
I want to tell all of our fans, because we've been here about an hour and 5, and we're going to wrap it up. We left a lot of stuff out, guys. There is a ton of moving parts because you didn't even talk about the coaches.
Yeah, we'll probably talk about that. Well, I mean, we could talk about it right now if you want to hang around for a minute.
A minute don't bother me. Mack Brown gone from North Carolina, and the big thing is speculation being Belichick with his son Steven as the coach in waiting. That's interesting. Bill Belichick on college campuses.
Well, or Bill Belichick traveling to a recruit's house.
Oh my God. So this whole thing, Brady,
Yeah,
Gronk, and Julian were on the football, and they're like, could you imagine Belichick? And Brady went into a full-blown Belichick imitation that was perfect. Well, you don't really want to play here anyway, do you? I mean, it's it was funny. Neil Brown, after 6 seasons out at West Virginia. As much as Pat McAfee's lobbying, somebody's going to get a good coaching job there in Morgantown.
Right.
Obviously, we talked about Nebraska's defensive core going to Florida State. That's a big move. UNLV, Barry Odom is now at Purdue after Ryan Walters was fired unceremoniously this year. We talked about Gus. He's retired, but he's an OC now at Florida State. Scott Frost, the prodigal son, has returned to Central Florida. He looks very relaxed and very different than he did in Nebraska. The speculation being, Terry, the expectations were probably just a touch too high in Nebraska for Scott Frost.
Right.
Being the last quarterback to win a national championship, being the favorite son, and then having, quite frankly, just a god-awful record.
Mike Shula was at Alabama.
I mean, it was awful. Yeah. And regardless that Nebraska's not, quote, they're not a supreme powerhouse like they used to be. Right. They're still a blue blood football team with a lot of pride, a lot of history. And by the way, guys, everything we've been talking about thematically tonight, money, it matters. It matters whether you like it or not. It matters. And when you sell out a 90,000 person stadium 400 times over, the span of 40 or 60, years, it matters. So prideful fans.
That's why you're going to hear these coaches. I mean, they're going to be lobbying for money. It's like, if you want these kind of players, somebody's going to have to pay for them.
Well, and the other thing is, and let's not make any mistake about it, it used to be coaches would stay at programs for a long time, and then you started to see where if you're not winning, they're going to get rid of you. Players are no longer going to grow up inside your football program by and large. Dylan Raiola is back. Dana Holgorsen, big part of that. He signed a 2-year deal with Nebraska last week. He doesn't need the money. He's making 4.5 off the Houston deal for getting fired. But there's a lot of changes, Terry. A lot of changes. And your Peyton Thorne survived 2 years in the Auburn program is no longer there.
That's right.
And you said he transferred. He didn't graduate.
No, he's out of eligibility.
Oh, so he's graduating.
No, he graduated, or he probably already graduated. 2 backups are in the portal.
Okay.
Which means that they've got one.
Oh, wait a minute. The little Gus or the Hank guys in the back is in the portal?
Yeah, he announced today.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's leaving.
Which means it leads me to believe your coach is going after a bigger name.
So, yeah, so they got to get 2. There's one Stanford quarterback that there's rumors that he'll come in as a backup. And all the Auburn fans are getting all irritated thinking this is the guy. Like, no. They need 2 quarterbacks. He's going to get a quarterback, and then he's going to go after one of the big names. Wegman or Mateer is another name I didn't mention earlier from Washington State. Those are the big guys. Liberty's quarterback, which I think Hugh Freeze recruited to Liberty. Salter, he's in the portal again. So these are the names to look for there.
As far I mentioned Lateef earlier. He's going to be the bridge between the Raiola brothers if the plan goes the way they're going, because the Raiolas have anchored in Lincoln. They're not going anywhere. they're moving to Lincoln. So the daughter works in the university, and Dylan's there, and Dalton will be there, and the uncle is the offensive line coach. But TJ Lateef has bumped Danny Killian. Remember how excited I was that we got Danny
Yeah.
Killian last year? Really good backup quarterback. Well, Harburg hasn't announced for the transfer. He's not leaving. They're going to make him play a different position. Somebody suggested, well, why don't you have him play, if you want him to be like the guy from the Saints that plays everywhere? Say just have him be the deep snapper, because you guys can't snap worth the shit. Have the quarterback be your deep snapper and go ahead and punt and get field goals, which is not such a bad idea. But TJ Lateef is going to bump Killian. Killian's available and a very good quarterback prospect if you can find somebody that can work with him.
Speaking of deep snappers, I just happened to see this online the other day.
I said deep snapper. I meant long snapper, but go ahead.
Well, that's what I meant. Long snappers. I saw a video of this woman sitting in the crowd at the Big Ten championship, and she had a half Oregon, half Penn State jersey. She had a son that was a long snapper on Oregon and a son that was a long snapper on Penn State.
That's
He was
cool.
wearing half and half. That was
That's
so
cool.
great.
Yeah.
But one thing that I'm going to be really interested in, portal and recruiting, that's a year-to-year thing. I'm really interested to see these hot stud newcomer coaches that are doing well. Where are they going to be interviewing this off season? Where are the rumors going to be putting them, and what's going to happen?
Like we talked about, not to cut the train of thought off, but look at Lashley and look at the Arizona State quarterback or coach. Now, the Arizona State coach just got his coordinators raises, so he may not be going anywhere just yet. But I mean, quite frankly, Terry, Matt Rule said there are active Power 4 conference coordinators calling him for jobs for the DC position. That is because Nebraska can write the check. Not every program can write the check and be happy to do it.
At some point it matters, and it really matters now because you got to have it to recruit players too. I mean, the money's got to come in for that.
Yep.
Anyway, that's about all we can hit this week.
That's the coaching updates, isn't it? I think I got them all. I did that for memory.
If we didn't get it, we'll get them next week. And
there will be more changes, believe me, folks. And remember,
and I might even make a map.
Every time a head coach leaves, fired or not, leaves for another job, the transfer portal opens for his team.
I thought you were going to say an angel gets its wings or something.
No.
That was the previous show.
Remember the Washington deal and how all that happened last year, Terry?
Oh, I know. I made a map. Yeah.
When DeBoer bolted for Alabama. And then we had the Arizona coach move to Washington. And then we had the whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to make a map. I'm going to make a lot of maps. It's going to be fun. But anyway, thanks everybody. We still got a lot of people on here watching. Thank you for that. No poll this week. We're done with the poll for the year, but please, when we do send out the challenge, join that. That should be fun. And it'll be the first time anybody's played this. So I don't really know all the details yet, but we'll discover that together. But one last thought, as always, be a champ this week in all that you do. Have a good week, everybody.